Welcome back to Amit's Leadership Compass, where I use real stories, real people, and real moments to help you lead with clarity, courage, and intent. I'm Amit, and today I want to talk about something that stayed with me since watching both parts of Dhurandhar. Dhurandhar is a film from Indian cinema, and in that film, Ranveer Singh plays Jaskirat Singh Rangi, a raw agent sent undercover into Karachi, where he becomes Hamza Ali Mazari. He infiltrates criminal networks, political systems, the ISI underworld, and dismantles it from within. And he does all of this without recognition, without acknowledgement, without anyone even knowing his real name. He loves a country that doesn't even know he exists. And that's what I want to explore today. Not the action, not the politics, but the leadership question underneath it all. What does it mean to give everything to something that can never truly give back? Because that's just not a spy's dilemma, that's leadership. Jaskirat doesn't get to be himself, he becomes someone else fully. Name, identity, belief, system, behaviour. He earns trust from people he's there to betray. There's a scene where he's in a room celebrating a win against India. He has to join in, to smile, agree, perform. While internally you can feel his pain, he's conflicted, but his strength shows up as restraint. Now bring that into leadership. Have you ever had to become someone else, not because of weakness, but because the mission required it? Walking into a business you need to turn around, adapting to a culture before you can change it, holding your view back to earn the right moment to express it. Or more subtly, if you come from a minority background, how often do you adjust your tone, your references, your instincts? That's not weakness, that's strategy. But there's a cost. Jaskirat doesn't just play the role, he starts to lose himself in it. By the end, he returns home, but doesn't step inside. He's completed the mission, but he's not entirely sure who completed it. Was it Jaskirat or was it Hamza? At what point does adaptation become self-erasure? That's the tension. The leadership principle is this: adaptation without anchoring is dangerous. If you don't define what your non-negotiable is about who you are, your values, your standards, you don't adapt, you dissolve. A personal story linking this lesson is when Lynn and I first explored the opportunity at DW Roberts, we were excited. Change affects people differently. Some embrace it, some tolerate it, and some quietly or loudly grieve it. In those early conversations, we could feel it. Not resistance, not negativity, grief. The loss of familiarity, the loss of a potential identity, the loss of what felt safe. As they say, sometimes it's better the devil you know. That's the Kubler-Ross curve. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. We often associate these behaviours with bereavement, but it applies just as strongly to organisational change. Once Lynn and I saw that clearly, we adjusted. We listened more than we spoke, observed more than we directed, understood people before setting a change of direction. Only then do we bring people together to share our vision, our values, how we like to work, and more importantly, why them being part of that journey wasn't just welcome, it was essential. We didn't arrive as bulls in a china shop as conquerors, we arrived as scholars first. And that patience, that willingness to understand before we led, is what made the transition possible. But I'll be honest with you, there were moments in that first year where I genuinely didn't know which version of me was showing up: the patient observer or the leader with a clear vision who was ready to move. And because I'm human, sometimes I got it wrong. I pushed when I should have listened. I held back when I should have led. Holding that tension is much harder than it sounds, and nobody tells you that part. The next lesson I want to talk about is the love that gets no reply. This is the part that stays with you. Jaskirat gave everything, his name, his identity, his life, to something bigger than himself, and it never acknowledges him. No headlines, no ceremony, no recognition. He chose a path where the mission mattered more than the credit. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Leadership is often a one-way relationship. The best leaders, they absorb pressure quietly. They create opportunities for others. They protect their teams without ever taking credit. The most important work you'll ever do may never actually be seen by others. If you're honest, part of you does want to be seen, and that matters. Because when recognition is completely absent for too long, it doesn't just feel noble, it becomes draining, even damaging. So the real question isn't, should I seek recognition? It is, am I driven by mission or dependent on the applause? If it's the applause, you'll eventually feel empty because people don't love you back in proportion to the way you give. They move on, they evolve, they forget. And if your identity is tied to their validation, you'll feel that loss deeply. Jaskirat understood that trade-off. He chose the mission anyway. A personal lesson, for those of you who know me and listen to my previous podcast, you know that one of my non-negotiables is gratitude. And earlier in my career, when I would go out of my way to help someone and I wasn't acknowledged, it affected me more than I expected. There's a specific moment where I invested a lot of time supporting someone's progression. I gave them opportunities that they weren't given before, show them a path that has taken them to many great things. I gave them time that I didn't have to give, but I gave it anyway. And when the opportunity came, they moved forward with my blessing. And I wasn't mentioned once, not privately, not publicly. And that really stayed with me. That hurt me. As I said, this was during my younger years. Not because I needed praise, but because I realised I was still attaching my effort to an expected outcome, still waiting for the return. And that's when something my father always says really landed. Do good and forget. And since that moment, my mentality has shifted. I still give fully, but I don't wait for the return. If gratitude comes, great. If it doesn't, even better. Because the moment you detach from needing the response, you lead more freely, you give more cleanly, and the work itself becomes the point. As I wrap up this episode, there's two questions I want to leave you with. Where are you adapting so much that you're losing yourself? And who in your world is doing their finest work right now, unseen and unacknowledged? If those questions have landed somewhere real, please do share your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Now, this is a two-part series, and in the next episode, I'm going to be sharing something I learned about myself the hard way. The moment where what I thought was driving me and what was actually driving me collided. It was uncomfortable, but necessary. And I think you'll recognize it. Until then, keep leading with clarity, courage, and intent, and keep navigating your leadership compass.